Hello everyone, what's up? It's me again, Junkmaster3, and what do you know? It's time for a new update video. It was a while since I made one of those videos, so this video is probably going to be pretty long, so you're in for a ride for this one. I'm gonna try to show you all of the DVDs first and then the Blu-rays. And with the DVDs, I'm gonna show you all of the non-horror titles first, and then I'm gonna show you all the horror titles. So if you're only interested in the horror titles, you can just skip to whatever time is on this video. So, but anyway, let's begin right away. First up, we have a film called Raging Cajun. Now, the reason why I picked this one up is because it's an early 80s, no, early 90s action film, and apparently it's produced by none other than Troma, or the Troma company. Heard some mixed things about this one. I mean, some of these films seems to be like hit or miss, but ready to give it a go. So yeah, Troma is always Troma. So there you go. And now let's see. The next one I have actually seen before. This is a very underrated animated film from the 80s, mid 80s. The film is called Star Chaser: The Legend of Orin. I think this might be, when it came out, I think was quite revolutionary as to how it looked like, because it looks very amazing for 1985, in my personal opinion. But and it's also quite, what do you say? It's quite dark for being like an animated film in general. I really like dark animated films in general with like dark themes and like creepy things and whatnot. But yeah, this one I really enjoyed. So yeah, Star Chaser: The Legend of Orin. So yeah, there you go. That's the film I've been looking for ages. Now the next one is also really good. The film is called Raw Courage. Now, if you imagine, it's sort of like interesting because this film has Ronnie Cox in it, and Ronnie Cox is, I think, is also the writer and the producer of this film. So it felt like a little bit of like a weird vanity project. Not really a vanity project, but it seems like he had his hand in most of the production of this film. But if you imagine Deliverance, but it's set in like in the middle of the desert, basically, you get this film. Really entertaining, really good, great performances by everyone involved. It also has what's his name, M. Emmett Walsh as the main bad guy. I think he did a great job. So yeah, Raw Courage. If you haven't seen this one, give it a go. It's really amazing. Now let's see. The next one is a double pack, a drama double pack. It's Stand and Deliver and Lean on Me. Now the main reason why I want to get this was because of Stand and Deliver, because I'm a big fan of Lou Diamond Phillips in general. And Lean on Me, I've actually heard really good things about as well. I think they have quite similar type of themes to it. I think they're about like schools that have really big problems with like drugs and violence and stuff like that. So it's basically up to these teachers to try to teach the students like what's right or wrong. Apparently, I think both of these are based on true events as well, so that's quite interesting. So, Stand and Deliver and Lean on Me. Let's see here. The next one is, now I think this is considered a classic, and I have never seen this one. I've always wanted to see it, but just the appearance by this guy seems to, I get some earnest vibes from this guy just because of the way he looks and the way he's acting. I mean, in some of the clips I've seen, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Now I know there's a sequel to this one as well, but I heard not really that many good things about it. But this is an 80s film that I always wanted to see, and I think it's considered a classic. Never seen it, and I finally found it, and I just thought, well, I need to get a hold of this one now. But if it turns out that I don't care too much about this film, I'm just gonna go back to the Ernest films, because I think Ernest is a really interesting and funny character in general. So yeah. Let's see here. The next one is a film with Wesley Snipes and Ice-T. Also Maury Van Peebles and Maury Van Peebles and Judd Nelson. Now the film is called New Jack City. I mean the cover art is really great, and I've actually heard really good things about this one. I think it's about like different types of gangs or something, like fighting each other. I'm not really sure, but yeah, looks interesting nonetheless. Now the next one is yet another 80s film. This is a film with Burt Reynolds and Teresa Russell, and the film is called Physical Evidence. Don't heard too many things about this one. This is pretty much like a blind buy. I mainly picked it up because of the cost, or like the Burt Reynolds and Teresa Russell. So yeah, there you go, Physical Evidence, from the late 80s, I believe. I think it's 89 on that one. The next one I think is a similar type of film because this is another one of those thriller films, I assume. The film is called, let's see, Suspect, with Cher and what's his name, Dennis Quaid. Yeah, also a film that I wanted to see for quite some time. And then we have a film which I have seen. I saw this on TV like maybe 4 years ago or something, and I was really surprised by most of the performances in this film. I think all of the actors in this did such an amazing job, but the main highlight of this film is Meryl Streep. One True Thing. Not really my type of film in general, but I was just so blown away by all the performances, by all these actors in this film. So I just thought, well, I need to get a hold of this if I ever find it. And so, yeah, I found it for a pretty good price as well. So, yeah, One True Thing. Oh my god, I've been talking for almost 6 minutes now, so I need to speed up a little bit. So the next one is a film which is a classic, and I have seen this one before, To Kill a Mockingbird, with Gregory Peck. Yeah, what's there to say that hasn't already been said about this film? It's a classic. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Really strong performances in that one as well. Sort of like courtroom drama type film in general. Now this one I've also wanted to see for quite some time. It's with Chow Yun-fat, I probably butcher his name, and Mira Sorvino. The film is called The Replacement Killers. I think this is directed by Antoine Fuqua. I can't pronounce his name. The guy who directed Tears of the Sun directed this one, so I'm just gonna say that before he's butchering his name. But that's another reason why I picked it up. So yeah, there you go, Replacement Killers. Let's see here, and the next one is a film with Christian Bale. Just based on how this looks, like the images or like the clips I've seen of this one, it kind of looks like a weird Matrix Blade type film. I'm not really sure, but the film is called Cubic. I think this is also known as Equilibrium. Yeah, probably butchered that title as well. But yeah, I heard some really good things about this one. So seems to be like a Matrix type film in general. So you will see how that goes. Now, for some weird reason, this should have been in the horror section of this video. But yeah, it turns out it's in this stack instead. But Roger Corman presents Sharktopus. Now, this is probably some stupid CGI bull crap, really. I mean, it's just, I mean, some of these shark films, you don't watch them for, like, you don't watch them for quality. You watch them for entertainment purposes only, just to have a laugh at them, let's be honest. So yeah, Sharktopus. There you go. And then the next one is a film called Nick of Time with Johnny Depp. Yet another thriller from let's see, action thriller from 1995. It just seems like the 90s were filled with these like thrillers in general. But to be fair, most of those thrillers are really good, and I think the 90s was really like a high point in the world of thrillers, so to say. So yeah, Nick of Time. What's it called? Nick of Time. Yeah, Nick of Time. Then we have a film with Christopher Lambert, or Lambert. I'm not really sure how you pronounce it because I think he is from Belgium. I think I've said this before. But this one I really enjoyed. Night Moves. I mean, it sort of has some cliches here and there, but I think the performance is really good and the storyline is quite strong, even though it's quite cliche to a certain degree. And the ending is just really amazing, in my personal opinion, really entertaining. So, Night Moves from 92, I believe. So, yeah, Night Moves. Let's see here. The next one is a film with, let's see here, a film with Sean Astin, Bruce Campbell, and Stacy Keach. That's an interesting set of characters, not a set of actors, so to say. Icebreaker from the early 2000s. Now, what I also was quite surprised by, not surprised by, but I thought Bruce Campbell looked very interesting in this because he's completely bald right there. I've never seen him bald in anything else, so that's going to be interesting. But yeah, anyway, Icebreaker. Not heard too many things about it, but I think it's supposed to be could be a made-for-TV film. I'm not really sure, but yeah, there you go. So now we'll continue with the next stack of films. The next one is actually a box set, very, very strange looking box set, but it's with films by John Woo. The films are A Better Tomorrow, 1, 2, and 3, the trilogy. Never seen any of these films, but I've always wanted to see them. And yeah, it's supposed to be really amazing action films in general, so can't pass on that. Let's see there, put it right there. And then the next one is a film by John Waters. I've not seen too many John Waters films. I have yet to see Pink Flamingos, but heard some really crazy things about that one. Now, this one is from the early 2000s, and the film is called Cecil B. Demented. I kind of like his really dark humor. I mean, John Waters in general, I think that's really... He's a genius when it comes to dark humor, in my personal opinion, so yeah. Then the next one is called Bayside Shakedown, the movie. Japanese action comedy film from the early 2000s. I kind of collect these Asian Vision releases in general. I think most of those films are very interesting. I think there's a sequel, or at least 2 or 3 sequels to this one. So if I like this one, I'm definitely going to give the second one a chance as well. But yeah, it looks really entertaining. So yeah, there we go. Bayside Shakedown. And then we have a film with, once again, Lou Diamond Phillips. The film is called Night Club. Sort of like a blind buy. I basically picked it up because of Lou Diamond Phillips in it, and it's a quite interesting thing, because usually when I pick up films with Lou Diamond Phillips, I just imagine him as like the main hero character. But in the latest films I've seen with him, he always plays the bad guy, so that's quite interesting. But anyway, Night Club, never seen, but looks interesting. Then we have some of these retro films releases. I think it's Studio S who releases these, or that label. That's the label that I actually tried to pick up all those releases. So the film is called What's Up, Tiger Lily. This is a film by Woody Allen. I'm not the biggest fan of Woody Allen. I think some of his films seems to be quite lackluster, but I've grown to appreciate some of them a little bit more now. So yeah. Then we have another one released by the same company, or like the same label, Hundra, with Laurie, what's her name? Lorene Landon. I've heard this is supposed to be some really rip-off type film of like Conan the Barbarian or something. I've heard some really stupid things about it, but it looks like it's one of those films that could be so bad it's good. I'm not really sure, but yeah. Then we have, let's see what this is called, Land and Freedom, from the mid-90s, a war film. Not seen, but yeah, released by or through that label, Retro Film. So that's the reason why I picked it up. It's the same reason why I picked up the next film. The film is called Still of the Night, once again with Meryl Streep and Roy Scheider. So yeah, I think some sort of thriller, so from the early 80s, so couldn't pass on that. And then we have a Disney film from the mid-90s. The reason why I picked this one up, I'm not the biggest fan of football or soccer, if you will, in general. I don't really like that sport at all. But this looks like that type of film. But I mean, like Mighty Ducks did for the hockey, it seems like this is the same thing, but with football instead, or soccer. The Big Green. This was so incredibly cheap. I don't really know how they could sell it for that cheap, brand new. I think it was only like $1 or something. So yeah, there you go. The Big Green. Could be crap, I'm not really sure, but yeah, there you go. Then we have the trilogy of Look Who's Talking, and Look Who's Talking 2, and Look Who's Talking Now. Never seen any of these films, but probably one of those films that are like, the first one is probably good and the other ones are maybe crap, I'm not really sure, but yeah, with John Travolta and Kirstie Alley. So yeah, and then we have yet another film that I've always wanted to see, and I was so incredibly glad that I finally found it, and the film is called Three Amigos, with Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, and Martin Short. So yeah, supposed to be an 80s classic. And then we have a film with not with Steven Spielberg, but directed by Steven Spielberg, and I think this is one of his first films he ever directed. And it has Goldie Hawn in it, and the film is called The Sugarland Express. Yeah, there you go. So we'll continue with the next stack. The first one in this stack is Color of the Truth. This one is with Anthony Wong. That's the main reason I picked it up. But it's an action film from the early 2000s or late 90s, I believe. So looks really batshit crazy. Then we have another Hong Kong Chinese film production. Picked it up because of Michelle Yeoh. Probably butcher her name, sorry. The Heroic Trio from the early 90s. Some action film. Couldn't pass on that. Then we have Calamity, I probably butchered that. Calamity of Snakes. This is released by Unearthed Films. Not picked up an Unearthed Films release in quite a while because it seems like it can be an unpopular opinion, but it seems like that company mainly tries to release really controversial films just to be like edgelords, basically. Oh, look at this disturbing film we're releasing. Oh, we're so disturbing. Like, oh, I've seen way worse. That's just my personal opinion. Don't take that seriously. They do release good films from time to time, not to saying that. So it's just, yeah, whatever. So the next film is called 2LDK, a Japanese film that I've always wanted to see. Apparently, this premise is basically these two actresses are like trying out for the same role, and they pretty much get violent against each other just because of that. So, yeah, looks really entertaining. Always wanted to see this one. So yeah, 2LDK. Then we have a Western from the 90s. Westerns were really like dying off in the, I think it died off like in the late 70s to be honest. But yeah, anyway, this film is called Bad Girls. Picked it up because of the cost. Looked interesting. Could be fun. Not really sure. We'll see how it is. And then we have the original Scarface from the 30s. I think I have seen the remake at some point, but I have less to no memory of it. So maybe that's for the better because I've never seen the original one. So we're looking forward to see this one. It's with what's his name? Oh, never mind. I've never seen this film, so there you go. Then we have some films by Roman Polanski. The less said about him nowadays, the better. The film is called Bitter Moon. I think this is from the 90s. Could be 80s, I'm not really sure. I think it's in the early 90s or something. So, yeah, Bitter Moon. Then we have yet another film by Roman Polanski. I think I could have seen this like 10 years ago. I'm not really sure, but Tess. Yeah, just the title rings a bell somewhere, so yeah. Then we have some sleaze probably. Wild Orchid with Mickey Rourke and Jacqueline Bisset, sorry, butcher her name. And then the next one is a film with Michael Caine and Michael Keaton. This is from the early 2000s and some thriller film. Quicksand, yeah. And I was going to say something as well, but yeah, lost track there. Then we have a film with Jack Nicholson and Kathleen Turner. The main reason why I picked this one up was because of Kathleen Turner. The film is called Prissy's Honor. Some comedy, 80s comedy. So couldn't pass on that. Then we have X312 Flight to Hell. With a title like that and with a cover like that, I couldn't pass on it. And then I realized that this film is directed by Jess Franco, I believe. Yeah, directed by Jess Franco. So who knows? Could be good, could be crap. You never know with that guy. Then we have a film which has the English title of... Oh boy. It's a Chinese film. It only has... what's it called? I'm not really sure. I don't even know what it's called. It's just the Swedish title and the Chinese title on the back. It's directed by Qian Shuang. Probably butchered that as well. Who knows? Then we have a film with Kyle MacLachlan and Elizabeth Shue and Dermot Mulroney. The film is called The Trigger Effect. 90s thriller. Once again, thrillers in 90s. Can't pass on that. Then we have a film by infamous Ed Wood. Yeah, you know Ed Wood, the guy who directed the Plan 9 from Outer Space, among other films. The film is called Jailbait. Picked it up because of this cover art and because it was directed by Ed Wood. So, yeah, who knows? Could be really bad or it could be really so bad it's good. You never know. Then we have a film with Chuck Norris called Slaughter in San Francisco. Now, I really like this cover art, but just based on the storyline that I've been reading about this one is that it looks like Chuck Norris is the main guy or the main good guy fighting off these crime gangs or whatever. But apparently Chuck Norris is the bad guy in this film. So that's quite interesting. So I think you had some problem with the productions. I think they made half of the film and then it just got shelved or something, and then someone just added more footage to it. I'm not really sure. It's some weird problems like that they had with the film. Now the next one, let's see what this is called in English. Once again with these titles, this is a Japanese film directed by Takeshi Kitano. I think it's called Kikujiro's Summer. I believe that's the title of the film, but from the late 90s. So if you want to watch this film or want to know more about it, maybe just search on Takeshi Kitano and you'll probably get this on IMDb or something. So yeah, who never knows? Who knows? And then we have this one. I was really glad I found this one because this is a limited edition. I think it's long gone out of print, but I was like, oh, I can't pass on this one. The film is called, not the film, but it's a box set with films from the Pinky Violence collection. Now this release looks really amazing to me. This film includes Delinquent Girl Boss, Worthless to Confess, Girl Boss Gorilla, Terrifying Girls High School Lynch Law Classroom, and Criminal Woman Killing Melody. I'm not too familiar with these Pinku films in general, so I thought, well, I'm just gonna dive into it by picking up this box set, so yeah. And then we have a Japanese anime series or whatever, and the film, or like the series is called Samurai Champloo. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that, but Samurais in Japanese, I mean, I just couldn't pass on that, and it was very cheap as well where I bought it, so yeah. So yeah, let's see. Let's continue. Now we go to the horror films of this video, or like the horror DVDs. So let's begin. First up, we have a double feature with Terror Eyes and Night Terror. Watched both of these films before. I think this is the first official release these films have had. I don't think it was only released on DVD before, or only VHS before, that's what I want to say. Terror Eyes, I'm a big fan of. Night Terror, not as much, but still okay for what it was. So yeah, really finally glad I finally got these films on DVD. So yeah, I think that release could have been one of those limited editions as well. I'm not really sure, but yeah. Yet another film I always wanted to see, some 80s goofball horror comedy, My Demon Lover. The premise for this sounds amazing. I think my good friend Mike from Sega CD Universe has talked about this one before, so that's another reason why I picked it up. So yeah, My Demon Lover. Let's see here. Then we have a 70s drive-in horror double feature with Ruby and Kiss of the Tarantula. Ruby sounds like a weird Carrie ripoff in a way, even though it was released around the same time. Kiss of Tarantula looks like a really fun creature feature film in general, so couldn't pass on that. Then we have a film by Jim Warnowski, and you know it's going to be some low-budget schlock when you hear that name. Cheerleader Massacre from the early 2000s. Could be crap, who knows. Looks interesting and cool. Then we have House of Whipcord by Pete Walker. I think this is supposed to be released through, I think it was 88 Films, or could be Eureka or Arrow. I'm not pretty sure. I think they were going to release a box set by his films, or like with his films. So yeah, gonna see if I like this one. So yeah. And to be fair, I don't think I've seen a single Pete Walker film yet. So yeah, let me know if I've missed out or anything. Then we have a film called Psycho Sisters. Now, I thought I already had this film, but I had another film with the exact same title, which came out in like 94, 95, and I think this came out in like 98, which is very confusing. So I was like, wait a minute, do I have this film or not? So I had to look it up, and it turns out it's just a film with the exact same title. So yeah, Psycho Sisters. Then we have a film called Oliver Twisted. With a title like that, I couldn't pass on it, and it's like a really old looking DVD as well. I like this cover art, even though as simple as it is, it looks quite interesting. And this one also has Karen Black in it, so yeah. Let's see here. Then we have a film which is called Patrick Still Lives. Now, I had this one before, or I do have it still, but it was like a really sketchy, weird looking bootleg version of that, which I was like really bummed out because I bought the real deal. But now here I have the real deal released by Shriek Show. Never seen the first Patrick film, but I heard some really good things about it. And I think this is actually strangely enough, I think the first was like an Australian film, and this is apparently an Italian film. So very strange for like a sequel to have a completely other like country of origin. So yeah. Then we have the Centerfold Girls, some 70s slasher film. Never seen before, but heard really good things about it. Then we have Some Sleaze by Joe D'Amato. Might not be my cup of tea, but I mean, with a title like that and I couldn't pass on it. Papaya, Love Goddess of the Cannibals. Yeah, that cover art is just really amazing. Then we have a fairly new horror film called Yummy. Now, the premise for this sounds very interesting. If you don't know about it, look it up if you want to see it. It looks very interesting. Yeah, I think this is a Dutch film. Maybe, no, either Dutch or Belgium film, not really sure. Or Belgian film, yeah. Then we have a film that I've heard some really weird, wacky things about. Apparently this is one of the most disgusting films that ever made, or at least according to the back of this DVD. Don't really trust those quotes anymore because I've seen so many that I'm kind of like grown tired of that statement. Kuso, very weird looking cover art on that one. And the next one might not really be a... Okay, we have some films here that probably aren't really horror films, but Super Bitch. Italian action crime film, couldn't pass on that, and it's an arrow release as well, so that's always a plus. This is not horror, but still, this is for some weird reason in the horror section of this video. Eastern Condors with Sammo Hung, yeah. Then we have a very, I think this looks a really old Mondo Macabre release, probably long gone out of print. Dr. Jekyll versus the Werewolf with Paul Naschy. Yeah, not seen too many Paul Naschy films, so always looking forward to those. Then we have Brainiac. Now look at that amazing cover art. Even though the film could be bad, I'm still gonna keep it just because that cover art, you can't pass on that, so yeah. Then we have a film which I have seen before. I wasn't really the biggest fan of it, but I thought, well, I need to get a hold of this just so I can give it another chance, because I do remember some of the gore effects were really good. The film is unironically called Dr. Gore. This is also known as The Body Shop, I believe. So yeah, I really like this cover as well. So yeah. Let's see here. Now this one, I think I already showed you before, so no need to show you that again. So let's let's continue with the next stack. In this stack we have Autopsy from the mid-2000s. 2008 to be exact. This is directed by the same guy who directed the remake of Night of the Demons. Now, I do not care too much for that film, but I think it's still an alright remake, even though the original one is far superior. And I really like films that takes place out in like hospitals or stuff like that in general, so I couldn't pass on that one, so yeah. Then we have the newest film by Dario Argento, Dark Glosses. I actually wrote a review of this on IMDb not too long ago. This was really entertaining. I mean, storyline might be quite simple and the acting is alright, I guess, but the apparently this is... I mean, I really was a big fan of this one. Then again, I haven't seen his previous film, which was Dracula 3D, which I've heard some really bad things about, but I'm still gonna get a hold of that one as well, eventually as well, hopefully. So, Dark Glosses, yeah, really good. Then we have a early 2000s film, a Korean film called Nightmare. Once again, released through that Asian Vision label, so yeah, there you go. And then we have The Uninvited, also a Korean horror film. So yeah. And then we have a film directed by one of the guys who directed the Blair Witch Project, Exists. I've heard this is supposed to be one of the best Bigfoot related films in general, so I've always wanted to see this one, and when I found it for such a good price I couldn't pass on it, so yeah, Exists. And then we have a box set with 3 films, Shaitan or Satan, Carved, and Slaughter Night. The main reason why I picked up this box set was because of Carved. I've seen that one before, and I really enjoy that film. It's a really great, cool looking Japanese film. I think it's directed by the same guy who directed Grotesque. Shaitan, I think I have in another release, and Slaughter Night is kind of like a blind buy, but I've heard good things about that one as well. I think it's a Dutch horror film, so yeah. Terror Pack with those films, so yeah. Let's see here. Then we continue with some more Japanese horror. The next one is called Reincarnation. Apparently, After Dark Horror Fest, one of 8 films to die for under that label. So, yeah. We continue with more Japanese horror films. The next one is called Retribution. Apparently, this is directed by the same guy who directed Cure and Pulse. I've seen Pulse, but I've never seen Cure before. That's another film that I wanted to get a hold of. But yeah, Retribution. Really boring looking cover in my personal opinion, but the film itself could be really good. That's what really matters. So yeah. Let's see here. And then we have some you're gonna see a pattern here for the next 3 films. The next one is called Christmas, Bloody Christmas, by Joe Begos, who directed one of my favorite horror films in the last 10 years or so, VFW. I'm a big fan of that one, and I really like this film, Bliss, as well. So ever since I heard about this one, I was like, oh, I need to get a hold of this one. Apparently about some weird robot Santa Claus going around killing people. Those killer Santa Claus films, I can't pass on those. I said that there's going to be a pattern here. The next one is called Christmas Cruelty, Norwegian Christmas horror film. I think this is quite new, fairly new. I think it's like 10 years or something. Never mind. I've never seen this film, but I mean, killer Santa Clauses, they are interesting. Now this one I have seen, and I watched this in the cinemas. I kind of knew from the get-go that I would probably love this film because it's directed by the guy who directed the Dead Snow films and Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters. Violent Night. What's there to be said? Has already been said. This is a really awesome, funny, cool action horror comedy. I mean, it's more of an action film than a horror film, but it still has some nice blood and gore effects in it. So yeah. Then we have a film with Bruce Campbell, also a fairly new film from, let's see, 2021, and the film is called Black Friday. Yet another Christmas-related horror film, I believe. So and this cover looks interesting. So yeah. Then we have a film which I've heard some bad things about, but I mean, this was like $1 or something when I bought it, so I thought, well, if I don't like it, I didn't spend too much on it. Prisoners of the Ghostland. Prisoners of the Ghostland. Japanese-American co-production, I believe, because it's directed by Sion Sono, and it has Nicolas Cage, and it also has one of those guys that are in all of those films, Tak Sakaguchi. I'm a big fan of that actor, so yeah. We'll see if that's good or bad. I've heard some bad things about it, but I'm still gonna give it a chance. Then we have Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. Yeah, some zombie comedy. It's either hit or miss with some of those newer zombie comedies, so yeah. Then we have Hellboy by Neil Marshall. Now, I've heard some really bad things about this one and some of Neil Marshall's latest films, but I do keep reminding myself this is the guy who directed The Descent and Dog Soldiers and Doomsday, among others. This could still be good. Who knows? So, yeah, Hellboy. Now, this one I have already showed you before, so no need in showing that again. Now, this one, I kind of picked this one up because of the cover art and the premise. Carnage Park. This is like a weird slipcover, so yeah, there you go. Then we have some, the next 4 releases or films or whatever are like double packs by Vinegar Syndrome. First up, we have a double pack which has The Dungeon of Harrow and Death by Invitation. Death by Invitation was the main reason I wanted to get a hold of this. Looks really interesting. Then we have Crypt of the Living Dead and House of the Living Dead. Now, I have seen Crypt of the Living Dead before, and I thought that was a fairly entertaining film. Never seen House of the Living Dead before, but looks interesting. Also from the 70s, so yeah. Then we have Bloodthirst and the Thirsty Dead. I've only seen The Thirsty Dead before. I wasn't that big fan of it, but then again I thought, well, I'm gonna give it another chance. Bloodthirst, never seen, but looks interesting, so yeah. Then we have the last double pack is In Search of Bigfoot. In Search of Bigfoot and Cry Wilderness. In Search of Bigfoot, I think is some sort of like a documentary about the whole phenomenon about Bigfoot in general, or like the history behind it. And then you have Cry Wilderness, which has some, maybe like a Killer Bigfoot film. I'm not really sure, but yeah, there you go. And they just keep on coming, don't they? The next one is a film called Zero, live action movie. That is strange. That's a very strange title, but I think this is also known as Fatal Frame. So I think that's the easiest way to get a hold of this film. So yeah, Japanese horror film from the early 2000s, I believe. So horror film must be an action film because it says action film on front cover. Oh, that's strange. Very strange. Then we continue with more Japanese films. This is directed by Takashi Shimizu. Probably butcher his name, but you know the guy who directed the Grudge films and Yuan. Alter Ego, yeah. I'll probably hold it up closer to the camera so you can see. Then we have Erotibot, some weird splatter film, I assume. It looks like a weird Sushi Typhoon production. That's just what I wanted to say. Then we have, let's see what this is called. Demoniac Flash. This is also with Anthony Wong. This seems to be very obscure. I think it only had like 20 or 25 votes for IMDb, so that's strange. Then we have Eastern Horror double pack with Satan's Slave and Corpse Master. Yeah. And then we have Giallo film. Now, what is this called in English? Once again, with these titles. Il Dolce Corpo di Debra. But it has Carol Baker and Jean Sorel in it. Yeah, sorry for not seeing. I mean, for some reason, some of these releases don't even have the English, like, the English title. It's just the Swedish or the Italian title, so yeah. Anyway, the next one is called The Doorway ... to Hell. I said ... I'm not even sure if that's even part of the title or not, but early 2000s horror film with Roy Scheider. Just this cover art really caught my attention, so that's the reason why I picked it up. Then we have a film from the 60s called Devil Doll. Some killer doll film from the 60s. I mean, that doesn't seem like your ordinary type of film. I mean, I don't really think they made a whole lot of those, like, doll films or like back in those days, so that could be cool. Then we have Eyes Behind the Stars. Now, I'm pretty convinced that this is a bootleg, but I think this film is very obscure in general. It's a 70s Italian sci-fi horror film. Just based on that, if you ever see that logo, if the DVD logo looks like that, you're probably in for a bootleg, so yeah. But anyway, Eyes Behind the Stars, so yeah. Now the next one is a double pack with Dead and Rotting and Stitches. The main reason why I picked this one up was because of Stitches, because I think I already had Dead and Rotting in another release, or like in another triple pack or something. So I think these are Full Moon. Yeah, both of these are Full Moon productions as well, so could be bad, could be good, you never know with Full Moon. Then we have this one, which I am not a very big fan of, but I thought, well, I need to get a hold of this just to give it another chance. It's directed by Fred Olen Ray, I believe. I could be wrong, but it says it's Fred Olen Ray's Presents Night Out Theater. And the film is called Dark Universe, which also has Joe Estevez in it. So yeah, there you go. Then we have yet another killer Bigfoot film, I believe, Willow Creek, from the early 2010s. And then a film from the early 2000s called Delta Delta Die with, what's her name? What's her name, goddammit? Tiffany Shepis, I believe, yeah. Also, apparently, Eli Strain is in that film, and Briggs Stevens. And then we have The Day It Came to Earth. Really funny looking cover art, in my opinion. This is from the 60s, I believe. No, 70s, 1977. So yeah, there you go. Then we have an Italian film from the early 2000s called The Darkness Beyond. It's also known as L'Altrove. Probably butchered that of the like right there. Yeah, kind of boring cover art, but still, who knows? Could be good. Then we have a horror film from the early 2000s. The film is called The Breed. Now, not to be confused with The Breed, which came out like in 2006. Not to be confused with the Killer Dog film. This is the early 2000s vampire film. So, yeah, early 2000s vampires could be good, could be bad, but always wanted to see that film. Then we have a film by that bastard, Chicalito. What's his name? Andrei Chicalito. The film is called Evil Lenko, with Michael McDowell, apparently. So, yeah, heard some good things about that one. Then we have a film called Curve. Some road movie or like in the middle of nowhere type horror film. Who knows? Could be good. Then we have Let the Wrong One In, which has to be some weird parody on the whole Let the Right One In. Now, this one looks really hilarious. I'm not the biggest fan of Let the Right One In. I think it's a good film, but I just think it's slightly overrated. But yeah, this one looks quite funny, so yeah, who knows. So, you've finally made it to the last stack of this video, whatever. This is all the Blu-rays I picked up. Now I've been talking for almost like 45 minutes, so I'm just gonna have to move on a little bit faster with this video. Now, the first Blu-ray I picked up was the Pajama Girl Case, giallo film from the 70s. I think this is one of the latest or like lost giallo films they made before they kind of stopped making them. So yeah, the Pajama Girl Case. Let's see here. Then we continue with the giallos. Next one is called The Suspicious Death of a Minor. This is directed by Sergio Martino, who directed such films as Torso and what's his name? Alligator. Is it was called Alligator? I think it was just called Alligator. I'm not really sure, but yeah. Then we have a Western film called Rio Conchos, with I think this also has Jim Brown in it, who apparently passed away not too long ago. So rest in peace. Yeah, those Western films from the 60s, they're always really amazing in my personal opinion. So yeah. Then we have fairly new release by Arrow. This is a film from the late 90s, which came like right after the whole Scream craze or whatever. Lover's Lane. I always wanted to see this one, but never found it up until Arrow released it on Blu-ray. Then we have a sequel to a film which I'm a big fan of. The film is called Gate 2. I think it took ages for any company to release this, or at least it was a problem with the rights or copyright. I'm not really sure. But anyway, Gate 2, I've never seen this one, but I always wanted to see it. So yeah, Gate 2. Then I usually say I don't double dip on films unless I'm a big fan of them. And this one I am a big fan of. 976 Evil with Stephen Jeffries, directed by Robert Englund. So yeah, I kind of like these films about people that are like getting picked on and then they get their revenge. I really like those type of revenge tales in general, so maybe that's the reason why I like it so much. Then the next two films are released by Vinegar Syndrome, I believe. Yeah, and this one I thought was really hilarious. Auntie Lee's Meat Pies. Early 90s fun, cheesy, schlocky film. Couldn't pass on that one. It's really funny. The next one is really funny as well, but it's sort of like a so bad it's good type of deal in some aspects of the film. This one, like the previous one, also had Michael Berryman in it, and Michael Berryman is really one of the highlights of this film, in my personal opinion. So, Voyage of the Rock Aliens, which also has Craig Sheffer in it, so he's right there on the front cover, if you can see him right there. It's sort of like a weird sci-fi musical thing. I'm not really sure how you can describe it, but it's really funny. Then we have Blood Delirium, Italian film, a horror film from the late 80s. The premise to this sounds really interesting, so that's the reason why I picked it up. And then we have a film that quite a lot of people talked about when it was fairly new, but I never got the chance to see it in the cinemas, so I thought, well, I'm gonna get it on Blu-ray instead. Smile. Yeah, heard some good things about it, so who knows, could be good. Then we have, let's see here, these three I think are connected with one another. Royal Warriors, In the Line of Duty 3, and In the Line of Duty 4. I think these are sort of connected with one another. I don't have the first one yet, which is called Yes Madame, I believe. But that is definitely a film that I need to get a hold of as well to complete that series. I think there's even more, like In the Line of Duty 5 and 6 or 7 as well. So, but I don't think those films have been released yet. So yeah. Then we have a film called Joey from the mid-80s. This is directed by Roland Emmerich. Probably butcher his name. This is known as something else as well, like Making Contact or something. So yeah, right there. And then we have a newer film called Hunter x Hunter. Sort of like a blind buy. It was fairly cheap, so I thought, well, it looks like a really cool looking werewolf type film, so couldn't pass on that one. Then we have vampire film called the Count Yorga. These are with both of those films, Count Yorga Vampire and Count Yorga Returns, I believe it was called. The Return of Count Yorga, yeah. So yeah. And the very last one for this, now let's see, I think I have two other things to show you, so oh my god, this is going to be a real long video. The Snake Girl and the Silver-Haired Witch, with a really cool looking slipcover as well, so yeah. Then the last things I picked up that I'm going to show you in this update video is Shaw Scope Volume 1. Look at this bad boy, it's really big, with a bunch of Shaw Brothers films, like Kung Fu films, or like action films in general. This is, the reason why I picked this one up also is because apparently it's like a limited edition. You never know when those films or like those releases get really hard to come across, so yeah. And then we have the second volume as well, volume 2. Yeah, I'm a big fan of like those Kung Fu films in general, and it was a while since I saw one of those, so but anyway, that's the last for this update video. Oh my god, almost new record, 47 minutes or almost 48 minutes, so I'm gonna just stop it right now. So if you're still here, hope you enjoy this really long update video. Next one is probably going to be top 5 of the month, or maybe another review video or another top list video. Not really sure, I haven't decided yet, but anyway, keep your eyes open for the next video. So yeah, see you next time. Bye bye.